On that track.
Question number 3, the Leader of the Opposition, David
Thank
Shearer.
you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all his statements?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Does he stand by his statement that, quote, the mixed ownership model is there for a variety of extremely sound reasons? And if so, has he read Treasury advice, which estimates that the government earns $360 million a year in profits from our energy SOEs, but will save only $266 million a year in borrowing costs by selling them, a loss of $100 million a year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes to the first part of the question, and to the second part of the question, what I have seen is advice from Treasury that indicates that the foregone dividends for retaining only 51%, not 100% of the SOEs will be offset by the otherwise borrowing costs that we face. In other words, it's about a wash.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Is it his intention to amend legislation to prevent the on-sale of shares to foreigners? And if so, why not?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, no.
The Leader of the Opposition.
If only 15% of the shares sold end up in overseas hands, that will mean $100 million a year in profits going to offshore owners. And can he think of any other better reason for using $100 million in New Zealand?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course, some dividends may go to foreigners. Many dividends will go to New Zealanders. But if we were borrowing the money, I'd give the member a tip. We'd be borrowing it from overseas.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr Speaker, given that the average residential electricity cost for the average consumer is 13% less in state-owned companies than in private energy companies, can you say that prices will not rise to private company levels in the future?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, if one goes and has a cursory look at the price increases for electricity under the 9 years of the previous Labor government, they went up 72%. If one goes and has a look at the increase in the equivalent period of time under National, they've gone up less. If one goes and has a look at the...
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Leader of the Opposition. That was quite a specific question about the difference between state-owned enterprises and private energy companies.
I've got to accept the question was specific in the way it related to energy prices by SOEs and private companies. The member argued that there was about 13% difference from memory, and the Prime Minister hasn't referred to that in his answer so far. But the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the second part of the answer would be if one goes and looks at the Power Switch website and has a look at who has the cheapest prices, funnily enough, they're actually companies in the private sector, not the SOEs.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Does he think that paying $120 million to multinational merchant bankers Goldman Sachs, Macquarie Capital, Credit Suisse to sell our assets is a good use of government money?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes, because we will be realising between $5 and $7 billion worth of capital. But Mr Speaker, everybody watching this debate understands the difference between Labor and National. Labor want to borrow more money, spend more money, put this country in hock, and on this side of the House, we want to measure things responsibly.
Order. It's not time for a speech.
Question number 4, Dr. Russell Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, what is the